roamed the oceans during the Pliocene era. The largest individual we are aware of was 67 feet long, and it may not have been fully mature. It ate whales for lunch. It was the largest shark known to man. We call it Megalodon. While regarded as one of the largest and most powerful predators to have ever lived, Megalodon is known for fragmentary remains, and its appearance and maximum size are uncertain. Scientists differ on whether it would have been more closely resembled to a stockier version of the great white shark, the whale shark, the basking shark, or the sand tiger shark. Most estimates of Megalodon's size extrapolate from teeth, with a maximum length of the creature estimated up to 67 feet. Estimates suggest their large jaws could exert a bite force of up to 41,000 pounds. Their teeth were thick and robust, built for grabbing prey and breaking bone. Megalodon probably had a major impact on the structure of marine communities. The fossil record indicates that it had a cosmopolitan distribution. It probably targeted large prey such as whales, seals, and sea turtles. Juveniles inhabited warm coastal waters and fed on fish and small whales. Unlike the great white, which attacks prey from the soft underside, Megalodon used its strong jaws to break through the chest cavity and puncture the heart and lungs of its prey. You may be asking yourself, could this giant still be roaming the seas? It's not likely, because if they were, we would see them often near shore. But who knows what may be lurking in the depths of Earth's oceans? The Megalodon faced competition such as sperm whales and possibly smaller ancestral killer whales. As the shark preferred warmer waters, it is thought that oceanic cooling associated with the onset of the ice ages, coupled with the lowering of sea levels and resulting loss of suitable nursery areas, may have also contributed to its decline. A reduction in the diversity of baleen whales and a shift in their distribution towards polar regions may have reduced Megalodon's primary food source. The extinction of the shark appeared to affect other animals. For example, the size of baleen whales increased significantly after the shark had disappeared. One interpretation on how Megalodon appeared was that it was a robust-looking shark and may have had a similar build to the great white shark. the jaws may have been blunter and wider than the great white, and the fins would have also been similar in shape, though thicker due to its size. It may have had a pig-eyed appearance in that it had small, deep-set eyes. Another interpretation is that Megalodon bore a similarity to the whale shark or the basking shark. Due to fragmentary remains, there have been many contradictory size estimates for Megalodon, and as they can only be drawn from fossil teeth and vertebra, the great white shark has been the basis of reconstruction and size estimation, as it is regarded as the best analog to Megalodon. Several total length estimation methods have been produced from comparing Megalodon's teeth and vertebra to those of the great white. Megalodon is thought to have been the largest macropredatory shark that ever lived. Megalodon could swim at about 11 miles per hour and would likely have been able to dart much faster when attacking prey. The actual size of Meg was in dispute for decades, originally thought to be about 98 feet long based on its jaw. Over time, most scientists have settled on a body length of about 66 feet. This is based on the few remains of teeth, jaw, and other body parts, as most of Meg would have been cartilage and was never preserved in the fossil record. Could it have been larger? Of course. To date, we don't have a larger record to base size on, though. There are anecdotal reports of teeth larger than those found in museum collections. Gordon Hubble from Gainesville, Florida, possesses an upper anterior Megalodon tooth whose maximum height is 7.25 inches. One of the largest known tooth specimens from the shark. In addition, a 9 by 11 foot Megalodon jaw reconstruction developed by fossil hunter Vito Bertucci contains a tooth whose maximum height is reportedly over 7 inches. Megalodon teeth can measure over 7 inches in slant height, the diagonal length, and are the largest of any known shark species, implying it was the largest of all sharks. In 1989, a nearly complete set of Megalodon teeth was discovered in Japan. Another nearly complete associated Megalodon dentition was excavated from the Yorktown formations in the United States and served as the basis of a jaw reconstruction of Megalodon at the National Museum of Natural History. Based on these discoveries, an artificial dental formula was put together for Megalodon in 1996. As with all sharks, the skeleton of Megalodon was formed of cartilage rather than bone. Consequently, most fossil specimens are poorly preserved. To support its large dentition, the jaws of Megalodon would have been more massive, stoutier, and more strongly developed than those of the Great White, which possesses a comparatively graceful dentation. Its cartilaginous skull would have had a blockier and more robust appearance than that of the Great White. Its fins were proportional to its larger size. Megalodon inhabited a wide range of marine environments: shallow coastal waters, areas of coastal upwelling, swampy coastal lagoons, and offshore deep water environments, and exhibited a transient lifestyle. Adult Megalodon were not abundant in shallow water environments and mostly inhabited offshore areas. Megalodon may have moved between coastal and oceanic waters, particularly in different stages of its life cycle. Suffice it to say, the Megalodon would have been a massive beast, able to take out almost any other predator in the oceans, and of course, it could have eaten boats if they existed. Though sharks are generally opportunistic feeders, Megalodon's great size, high-speed swimming capability, and powerful jaws, coupled with an impressive feeding apparatus, made it an apex predator, capable of consuming a broad spectrum of animals. It was probably one of the most powerful predators to have ever existed. Fossil evidence indicates that Megalodon preyed upon many species, such as dolphins, small whales, shark-toothed dolphins, sperm whales, and bowhead whales. In addition to this, they also targeted seals and sea turtles. The shark was an opportunist, and it would have also gone after smaller fish and other sharks. Many whale bones have been found with deep gashes, most likely made by their teeth. Various excavations have revealed Megalodon teeth lying close to the chewed remains of whales, and sometimes in direct association with them. It would probably be safe to say this fish ate whales for breakfast and never looked back. Sharks often employ complex hunting strategies to engage large prey animals. Great white shark hunting strategies may be similar to how Megalodon hunted its large prey. Megalodon bite marks on whale fossils suggest that it employed different hunting strategies against large prey than the great white shark. One particular specimen, the remains of a 30-foot-long baleen whale, provided the first opportunity to quantitatively analyze its attack behavior. Unlike great whites, which target the underbelly of their prey, Megalodon probably targeted the heart and lungs, with their thick teeth adapted for biting through tough bone, as indicated by bite marks inflicted to the rib cages and other tough bony areas on whale remains. Furthermore, attack patterns could differ for prey of different sizes. Fossil remains of some small animals suggest that they were rammed with great force from below before being killed and eaten, based on compression fractures. As time passed, Megalodon apparently further refined its hunting strategies to cope with larger whales. Numerous fossilized flipper bones and tail vertebra of large whales from the Pliocene have been found with Megalodon bite marks, which suggest that Megalodon could immobilize a large whale before killing and feeding on it. The Earth experienced a number of changes during this time period Megalodon existed, which affected marine life. A cooling trend ultimately led to glaciation at the poles. Geological events changed currents and precipitation. Among those were the closure of the Central American Seaway and changes in the ocean, contributing to cooling of the oceans. The stalling of the Gulf Stream prevented nutrient-rich water from reaching major marine ecosystems, which may have negatively affected its food sources. The largest fluctuations happened between around 5 million to 12,000 years ago due to the expansion of glaciers at the poles, which negatively impacted coastal environments and may have contributed to its extinction, along with those of several other marine species. These oceanographic changes, in particular the sea level drops, may have restricted many of the suitable shallow water nursery sites for Megalodon, hindering reproduction. Nursery areas are pivotal for the survival of many shark species, in part because they protect juveniles from predators. As its range did not apparently extend into colder waters, Megalodon may not have been able to retain a significant amount of metabolic heat, so its range was restricted to shrinking warmer waters. Fossil evidence confirms the absence of Megalodon in regions around the world where water temperatures had significantly declined. Megalodon was a monster of the sea. Its size and powerful jaws made it a formidable enemy to any living creature in the ocean, even land animals. Any animal or dinosaur that ventured into the water was subject to an attack by Megalodon. If you're a fan of Megalodon, then you've probably seen all the movies. Megalodon has been portrayed in several works of fiction, including films and novels, and continues to be a popular subject for fiction involving sea monsters. 3 individual Megalodon, 2 adults and 1 juvenile, were portrayed in BBC's 2003 TV documentary series Sea Monsters, where it is defined as a hazard of the era. The History Channel's Jurassic Fight Club portrays a Megalodon attacking a sperm whale in Japan. Several films depict Megalodon, such as Shark Attack 3, Megalodon, and the Mega Shark series, for instance, Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. The shark appears in the 2017 video game Ark: Survival Evolved. Some stories, such as Jim Shepard's Tedford and the Megalodon, portray a rediscovery of the shark. Steve Alten's Meg, a novel of deep terror, portrays the shark having preyed on dinosaurs with its prologue and cover artwork depicting Megalodon killing a Tyrannosaurus in the sea. The sequels to the book also star Megalodon, The Trench, Meg, Primal Waters, Meg, Hell's Aquarium, Meg, Night Stalkers, Meg Generations, and Meg Origins, and there is a film adaptation entitled The Meg, released in August of 2018. Animal Planet pseudo-documentary Mermaids: The Body Found included an encounter between a pod of mermaids and a megalodon. Later in August of 2013, the Discovery Channel opened its annual Shark Week series with another film for television, Megalodon: The Monster Shark Lives, a controversial docufiction about the creature that presented alleged evidence in order to suggest that Megalodon was still alive. This program received criticism for being completely fictional. For example, all of the supposed scientists depicted were paid actors. In 2014, Discovery re-aired The Monster Shark Lives, along with a new one-hour program, Megalodon: The New Evidence, and an additional fictionalized program entitled Shark of Darkness: Wrath of Submarine. Discovery has pushed the boundaries, but these shows were quite successful, and regardless, Discovery has produced some of the best educational programs about animal and wildlife over the years. Reports of supposedly fresh Megalodon teeth, such as those made by HMS Challenger in 1873, which were erroneously dated to around 11,000 to 24,000 years old, are probably teeth that were well preserved by a thick mineral crust of manganese dioxide, and so had a lower decomposition rate and retained a white color during fossilization. Fossil Megalodon teeth can vary in color from off-white to dark browns and grays, and some fossil teeth may have been redeposited into a younger stratum. The claims that Megalodon could remain elusive in the depths, similar to the megamouth shark, which was discovered in 1976, are unlikely, as the shark lived in warm coastal waters and probably could not survive in the cold and nutrient-poor deep-sea environment. There are also people who live and breathe Megalodon. One such person was Vito Pertucci. The world's largest known set of shark jaws originate from Megalodon, the most massive carnivorous fish species known. Originally from the collection of the late Pertucci, the colossal specimen bears the provenance of this intrepid explorer, whose work was covered by National Geographic. the collector and preparator of the present piece, Vito earned the moniker Megalodon Man over a 20-year career of passionate underwater fossil hunting. Most widely known for his reconstruction of a megalodon jaw, the topic of a National Geographic television program, the former jeweler, who was also featured in National Geographic World magazine, spent 20 years collecting the 184 fossil shark teeth with which he reconstructed the present Meg jaws. A businessman, an adventurer, and a passionate promoter of the theory that Megalodon attained greater lengths than is commonly thought by some scientists, Vito owned and operated a shark museum in Port Royal, South Carolina. His last notable find, in August of 2004, was the discovery of an enormous 7 1/4 inch long Megalodon tooth. Vito began collecting Meg teeth as a teenager. In the mid-70s, he found what may be the largest tooth ever, 7 1/4 inches, which he sold for a few $100s. He often tried to buy it back after he realized its true value. In any conversation with Vito, it almost always led to a discussion of shark teeth. He drowned at the age of 47, and when the authorities recovered his body from a Georgia river after several days of searching, they found a bag of teeth on him. There's something to be said about doing what one loves. The present specimen comprises 184 fossil shark teeth, which have been mounted in a resin reconstruction representing the jaw of Megalodon. 4 of the teeth are at least 7 inches in length. The longest tooth measures over 7 inches. Vito's huge Meg jaw with teeth went up for bidding in 2011 at auction. The Pliocene epoch is the epoch in the geologic timescale that extends from 5.3 million to 2.58 million years. As with other older geologic periods, the geological strata that defines the start and end are well identified, but the exact dates of the start and end of the epoch are slightly uncertain. The boundaries defining the Pliocene are not set at any easily identified worldwide event, but rather at regional boundaries between the warmer Miocene and the relatively cooler Pliocene. The upper boundary was set at the start of a glaciation period. The global average temperature in the mid-Pliocene was 2 to 3 degrees centigrade higher than today. Carbon dioxide levels were the same as today, and global sea level was higher. The Northern Hemisphere ice sheet was before the onset of extensive glaciation over Greenland that occurred. The formation of an Arctic ice cap is signaled by an abrupt shift in oxygen isotope ratios and ice-rafted cobbles in the North Atlantic and North Pacific Ocean beds. Mid-latitude glaciation was probably underway before the end of the epoch. The global cooling that occurred during the Pliocene may have spurred on the disappearance of forests and the spread of grasslands and savannas. In North America, rodents, large mastodons, and opossums continued successfully, while hooved animals declined, with camel, deer, and horse all seeing populations recede. Various rhinos and three-toed horses became extinct, But other carnivores, including the weasel family, diversified, and dogs and short-faced bears did well. Ground sloths and armadillos came north with the formation of the Isthmus of Panama. Rodents did well, while primate distribution declined. Elephants were successful in Asia. Horse diversity declined. While tapirs and modern rhinos did fairly well, cows and antelopes were successful, and some camel species crossed into Asia from North America. Hyenas and other saber-toothed cats appeared, joining other predators, including dogs, bears, and weasels. The change to a cooler, dry, seasonal climate had considerable impacts on Pliocene vegetation, reducing tropical species worldwide. Forests proliferated, and tundra covered much of the north, and grasslands spread on all continents, except Antarctica. Tropical forests were limited to a tight band around the equator, and in addition to dry savannas, deserts appeared in Asia and Africa. In 2002, a scientist calculated that roughly 2 million years ago, around the end of the Pliocene epoch, a group of bright O and B stars called the Scorpius-Centaurus-OB Association passed within 130 light-years of Earth, and that one or more supernova explosions gave rise to a feature known as the local bubble. Such a close explosion could have damaged the Earth's ozone layer and caused the extinction of some oceanic life. Radioactive iron-60 isotopes that have been found in ancient seabed deposits further back this finding, as there are no natural sources for this radioactive isotope on Earth, but they can be produced in a supernova. Furthermore, iron-60 residues point to a huge spike 2.6 million years ago, but in excess scattered over 100 million years can also be found, suggesting that there may have been multiple relatively close supernovae. In 2019, researchers found more of these interstellar iron-60 isotopes in Antarctica, which have been associated with the local interstellar cloud. Although it's a popular subject in movies and television, scientists agree there are no Megs living today. If there were, we would know about it. This shark could eat a boat. It was huge, and we would see their fins and these mammoths themselves. We would also see the remains of whales and other fish they consumed. A single Meg living today would be a major menace to ocean traffic and a deterrent to the environment. However, aside from a good ghost story, nothing is as scary is a giant shark tail. So let's use our imaginations and conjure up an idea of what if Megs still roam the earth today? First, where would we find them? The terrifying truth is they would be near the shore. Yes, you would see their massive fins rise up and break the ocean surface as they patrol near land for food. Swimmers would be especially vulnerable. Unlike the great white shark in the movie Jaws, they would not go after a single person. Meg could swallow several swimmers at once. In the movie Jaws, the shark often attacked from below, dragging its prey down to drown in the murky waters before tearing the flesh from them. Meg would probably ram the swimmers, breaking bone and causing concussions. Of course, they could swallow you whole. Boats would have a similar experience, being rammed hard, scattering the people inside overboard. Meg could then take them individually, or simply open its maw wide and scoop up several. Speedboats and sailboats would be no match for the awesome Megalodon. However, one wonders how this massive shark would fare against a large metal warship or frigate. A single harpoon would not take it out. One would need many such missiles, and then the ability to subdue the massive creature. As you're trying to catch it and kill it, it would be hunting you. Simply getting hung on a single tooth within this monster's jaw would be the equivalent of having a shovel speared into your gut. The Megalodon's bite pressure could snap a human in two with ease. Your feeble human body would simply burst, gushing blood all around and attracting more Megs. The Megalodon would not be your only problem. As the creature fed, other predators would smell the blood in the water and move in for the remains of what Meg didn't eat. The waters would soon be infested with hammerhead, thresher sharks, and the enormous great white sharks. The Megalodon is an eating machine, and all these other predators would be nearby to fight over the remains left in the wake of this monster. Modern technology would not be much help either. Sure, a torpedo would remove one from the sea, assuming it can't dodge the oncoming projectile. But how many torpedoes do you swim with? Shooting this massive beast would be almost futile. Bullets would likely only upset the creature. You would need something much more powerful. If you happen to encounter a pod of megalodons, your chances of survival would be 0. If Megs did survive to this day, many speculate they may be living in deep waters, such as in trenches so deep man has rarely been that far below. Of course, the waters there would be far too cold for them, and the pressures may crush them. But it is possible that a Meg, or some other large shark, could have adapted to the freezing water and depths. If so, then a trip to these depths would prove deadly, not just for the harsh environmental conditions, but also you would be descending into the lair of a monster. Throughout recorded history, there have been tales of giant sharks from maritime sailors who ventured across the oceans in search of goods and treasure. Shark attacks on vessels are uncommon, but they do happen. Most of these tales probably were great white sharks or other species. The sailors, so frightened, likely embellished their tales, and the creature they encountered became far larger and bolder than most sharks are. The first account of an attack by a marine monster dates back to Greek history with Herodotus in 492 BC. He was not talking specifically of the shark, even though the latter was probably involved, for the word did not yet exist, and no real lifelike graphic representation was to appear before the 15th century. Again, in Greek history, a poet evokes the tragic end of the sponge fisher Tharsis when he was being hoisted aboard his boat by his two companions and was attacked by a sea monster which tore away the lower sections of his body. Tharsis' companions brought ashore his remains, and thus the poet elegantly noted that he was buried both on land and at sea. In 1776, Pennant described the great white shark. They reach very great dimensions. There is a report of a whole human corpse being found in the stomach of one of these monsters, which is by no means beyond belief, considering their huge fondness for human flesh. They are the nightmares of seamen in all the hot climates, where they constantly follow ships, waiting for anything that might fall overboard. A man who has this misfortune inexorably perishes. They have been seen to rush at him. Very often swimmers are killed by them. Sometimes they lose an arm or a leg, and at other times are cut in two by this insatiable animal. Basic scientific knowledge of the shark is extremely recent, and it can therefore be assumed that up to the 20th century, accounts of attacks by sharks were largely based on popular mystique, superstition, and fanciful speculation. Lake Nicaragua is well known in Central America for its numerous man-eaters, and in a book there concerns an event that prompted the resident lakeside Indians to attempt to appease the Lord of the Waters. They had very elaborate funeral ceremonies, at the end of which the bodies, covered in jewels and weighed down with gold ornaments, were committed to the sharks of the lake in order to appease them. The latter, of course, devoured the bodies, together with the jewels, to everyone's satisfaction. Until one day when a Dutchman interfered by hunting the sharks, opening their bellies and retrieving the gold and the sacred jewels. He very quickly amassed a fortune, but forgot to leave in time. Informed of his sacrilegious thefts, the Indians set fire to his house, and after having slit his throat, his corpse, being unworthy of the sharks, had to be carbonized. The roots of the word shark, in fact, indicate certain characteristics of the animal itself. The Anglo-Saxon root sharon means to cut or tear. Sharok is the German word for villain. Since Elizabethan times, modern speech has used the words to indicate sharks in various contexts: loan shark, pool shark, card shark, etc. The sound itself is sharp and emphasizes the impression of urgency, of terror, of surprise, and of assertiveness. In France, the Lord of the Seas goes by the name Requiem. This very probably comes from requiem, evidently referring to the inevitable fate that awaited the unfortunate seaman falling overboard in certain tropical waters. In Spanish, the animal is referred to by the name tiburon. Not surprisingly, perhaps, many people in those countries believe that the English name for shark is in fact Jaws from the celebrated film. If one asks a random selection of townspeople and professional shark fishermen to choose 4 images that immediately come to mind when the word shark is mentioned, the similarity of response is amazing. Danger, killer, man-eater, jaws, desperate, teeth. Some of the key words for shark is fin, fishing, great white, marauder, foam, deep water. They're some of the key words that frequently encountered, irrespective of occupation, of the country concerned, and of any possible real-life experience of the person in question with regard to sharks. It's remarkable, in fact, that all of the people questioned have never witnessed an attack. Some have never seen or even caught a glimpse of a shark in their lives, and others live in countries where there are no sharks. But those key words are embedded into our consciousness. These responses suggest that the image of terror and destruction is much more firmly established than the picture emerging from scientific discoveries, which reveals the sharks to be an animal with a very distinctive biology and behavioral characteristics. Several factors may explain the shark's reputation as a symbol of power and terror. It is undeniable that the shark really is the Lord of the seas, and the ruler of the deep of early ages, since it has existed unchanged for 350 million years, while man did not exist until 1 million years ago. The shark is not only the biggest of the fish, it's also the best equipped for hunting down and destroying its prey. It is capable of living in all waters, shallow or deep, tropical or temperate, fresh or salt, and as it is perpetually moving, there is nowhere that a man can feel really safe from its attacks. Unlike most animals, the shark is never in need of prey on which to feed, and it is even capable of devouring its own. It has no natural predators apart from the killer whale, and very occasionally the sawfish. Its invincibility is physical, dietary, and ethnological. Even more so than other fish, its tenacity for staying alive is impressive. Gaffed, shot, harpooned, ripped open, and it's still capable of moving about and tearing apart its victims in the water. Even when apparently lifeless on the deck of a boat, it can still seize and cut off the arms or the leg of the imprudent fisherman several hours after being captured. The shark is a creature tailor-made for media sensationalism. Magnificently represented by the great white, it is a carnivore of terrifying appearance whose diet does not exclude the odd human being now and then. In other words, sharks possess all the necessary credentials for a front-page news story. However, as the latter is normally reserved for events concerning people, sharks do not become newsworthy until they have just devoured a potential reader. Although journalists are experts at collecting data, they are not shark specialists, and in general, they have very little available time to write their article. This explains the scientific impoverishment that most often presides over the reports of such events, and the stereotypical manner in which accidents are described. Contrary to these reports, the circumstances are usually totally different. Sharks are not always ruthless great white sharks. The victims not necessarily young, athletic, swimming champions, and the waters not automatically calm and blue with nothing to warn of the drama about to unfold. Why are we so obsessed with sharks and Megalodon? Shark Week is coming to television. You're probably excited, and that's kind of strange. But why this cultural obsession with sharks? Maybe it's some intrinsic pull, the knowledge that sharks and humans split from a common ancestor, thus connecting us metaphysically to these ocean dwellers. Or maybe it's just because they're really, really cool. Sharks weren't always seen as mysterious monsters. Phoenician pottery dating back to 3000 BC displays images of sharks, and Aristotle gave the first accurate description of shark sex. But then came the Middle Ages, when the Western world forgot that sharks existed. At banquets, noblemen would take fossilized shark teeth, drop them in their goblets, and claim they were dragon tongue stones. Westerners were more likely to believe in dragons than a great white. Sharks re-entered the Western psyche in the seafaring surge between the 15th and 17th centuries, but they remained a fairly abstract concept to most Americans until 1916, when we started spending lots of time at the beach. That same year, a series of shark attacks off the Jersey shore caused widespread panic. Citizens demanded that the government stamp out the shark horror, and Woodrow Wilson even convened an inconsequential cabinet meeting on sharks. Sharks were now completely on the radar, scary beasts that the government should take care of, but seemed unable to. The panic felt in 1916 has continued through today. The unpredictability and seemingly uncontrollable nature of sharks is what scares us the most and what drives our fascination. We have a primal fear because they come out of the darkness. In light of statistics, our shark-feared obsession seems a bit odd. According to the University of Florida, in 2012, there were 53 shark attacks in the U.S. and 7 fatalities worldwide. On the other hand, it's estimated that an average of 19 people die in the U.S. from dog attacks each year. In Australia, according to The Guardian, the nation has averaged just over 1 fatal attack a year over the past 50 years. Yet Australian officials approved a plan to allow fishery services to kill sharks that appear a threat, despite great white sharks being a protected species in the country's waters. While we celebrate the awesomeness of sharks, humans worldwide kill an estimated 100 million of the creatures every year. More organizations than ever exist to create awareness for shark conservation, but the fact of the matter is that shark populations have declined by up to 80%. Is it that regardless of our knowledge of the necessity of sharks in our ecosystem, we're still too scared of them to really care? As a Western Australia state premier said, "We will always put the lives and safety of beachgoers ahead of the shark. This is, after all, a fish." If the necessity of sharks within the ecosystem is a hard sell, maybe a couple of economic points will be more convincing. Whale shark tourism is estimated to be worth $47.5 million annually worldwide. Shark tourism activities bring $78 million annually to the Bahamian economy alone. Imagine if they had a Megalodon on display. Megalodon was one of the greatest prehistoric sharks to ever swim the ocean. It ranged from being 40 to 100 feet long and weighing in at 100 tons. This massive shark has had an extreme amount of fascination surrounding it, similar to Bigfoot. There is a single difference, however. We know the Megalodon did in fact exist. There is an immense amount of information available on this great shark. Feasting on whales and dolphins with its 7-inch long teeth, this monster was one of great strength. It is obvious that there are people who believe in the current existence of the Megalodon. This idea can be fun to ponder and scary at the same time. This combination is exactly what compels people to want to believe in such things. Like Bigfoot, our curiosity pushes us to believe in the existence of the Megalodon. This idea of a real-world monster can be extremely interesting and lingers around even when the facts can point in the opposite direction. Is this just another instance of the neglect of concrete information in order to humor the idea of another fascinating creature? It is extremely unlikely that megalodons continue to lurk beneath the waves. Scientists know this because of fossil teeth and a few vertebrae have been found in the regions that were once shallow seas during the Miocene and Pliocene. Supposedly, some Megalodon fossils date to the Pleistocene epoch, but these claims are not considered to be reliable. So far, no direct evidence of Megalodons living in modern times has been found. Serious indirect evidence, such as Megalodon-sized bite marks appearing on today's humpback and blue whales, for example, is also lacking. What about the prospect of a reclusive deep ocean population hidden from the prying eyes of human satellites and submersibles? This scenario is also very unlikely because evidence suggests that Megalodons established nurseries for their young in shallow sea regions like the Caribbean and Mediterranean seas, and hunted in these and other well-lit marine environments, such as in the first few hundred meters beneath the waves. After all, the bulk of their food, whales, lived here too. From Peter Benchley's Jaws to the Drek that regularly bobs up to the surface of basic cable science channels, we can't seem to resist invoking the specter of a shark so large that it could easily engulf a person without a drop of blood spilled in the sea. Despite our fascination with this enormous extinct relative of today's great white shark, there's still a great deal we don't know about the life and death of the biggest shark that ever lived. For starters, we still don't know why the last of the megatooths died over 2.5 million years ago. If you want to see Meg, take a trip to the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., and you will come face to face with a life-size replica of Megalodon. At 52 feet, the model is the average size of a female Megalodon. In order to show the large teeth, the model is displayed with its mouth open. The Megalodon was a new addition to the west courtyard of the museum in spring of 2019. She's there right now, ready to send shivers down the spine of anyone who encounters her.
start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank